All right, all right, all right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another amazing, sexy live video in my Facebook group, the Portrait Photographers Resource. We have a super cool guest today. I want to introduce all of you to photographer Arica Lipp. Arica, say hi to the world.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, I am so excited to have you here, Arica. Before we dive into this, for those of you who do not know Arica, you're based in Montana. You're in Billings, correct?
Correct.
Awesome, yeah. So you do a little bit of everything portrait wise, but from what it sounds like, I mean, the whole reason you're here today is you are really passionate about dance, and from what I can see, you've incorporated a lot of dance, photography into your workflow and into your business. And I'd love to kind of hear a little before we talk about all that and go through your presentation. I would love to hear a little bit about what inspired you to go this direction. Were you a dancer before a photographer? Is it just something you really like? Fill me in a little bit about that and tell the world a little bit about who you are, what you like to do with photography, anything to help paint a picture for us.
You bet. Thanks, Sean. So I am an artist and a dancer and an educator. And I have always run two paths simultaneously between art and dance. And the more that I grew into an adulthood, the less time I had to do that. So I've had to pick and choose a little bit. And I taught dance professionally for 20 years. Ballroom, Latin, swing, all of that. I used to be a competitor. I used to go
Wow.
on tour with all the gowns and all the fabulousness. And of course, my background is also in ballet, jazz, contemporary, other styles. Now, when COVID hit and I had picked up a camera, I was feeling really great about where that was going as my art form. I realized that the dancers were not allowed to perform and they were masked. And my heart broke because they've been dedicating their lives, giving up every sport, every activity to dance. So here they are, especially seniors that year. No one was going to see what they've been working all these years to accomplish. And I thought, well, I can help them. I can photograph them unmasked and keep our distance and give them something to share with the world. And that started me realizing that, oh my gosh, this I can fuse my two passions together for the first time. And it was incredible. And pretty soon when people started seeing the work, they started asking me questions. Well, how do you do this? How do you do that? What's dance photography like? How do you pose this? How do you light that? And I had the answers because of the two, expertise. And it's just become this thing where I'm like, oh, I have this knowledge. I'm in a unique position to help other photographers and bridge that gap. So here we are.
That is awesome. So what I noticed you also do a couple other portraits as well, but what percentage of your business would you say is actually dance photography related?
It kind of depends. So I have a dance ambassadorship that's similar to senior ambassadors,
Uh-huh.
right? So there's that route. I can do
Okay.
live performances. A lot of those dancers become high school seniors, so it kind of blends into that and family photos. So there's a little bit of a fuzzy line there. So you can use dance photography as an entry level to lead to more business, which is really great, So it's kind of hard to tell and differentiate. But when it comes to like education and as a speaker, I would say the majority of my speaking is in the dance photography category.
Gotcha. Yeah, and it's such like a niche subject. Like I before you, I personally have not met any other photographer that specialized specifically in dance. And so when you approached me and you were like, Sean, like I'd love to give a presentation about posing for dance photography specifically, I was like, done. Like absolutely, I would love to have you on because it's so unique, it's so niche, and I am completely ignorant. I know nothing about this subject. I know a little bit about posing, obviously, but I am really excited to go through these slides and go through this presentation with you because not only do I feel like as someone who's interested in dance photography, not only will they be able to benefit from this, but I feel like all of us as portrait photographers, we can really take advantage of this because there's going to be a lot of crossover. And as I mentioned earlier, before we actually went live, people who are into dance are so in tune and so connected with their bodies, and they're so aware of what's going on. I feel like they're already very good at posing themselves. So it's going to be really easy to or really interesting to hear from the perspective of you, how you can elevate someone like that who is already so comfortable with their body and so in tune with it to bring them to an even higher level. So I'm really excited to learn from you, and I'm really, really stoked to hear what you have to say.
Awesome. I'm excited to be here. This is fun.
Yeah, and then one other thing I wanted to mention before we get started is you and I are going to be competing against each other in the Pro Prince Invitational finale, basically in September. You were one of the 6 finalists.
I was so excited to see your name and see Rick's name, and honestly, very humbled to be amongst you both and everyone else who was a finalist. But it's going to be so much fun.
It is
just excited.
I am so excited too. The amount of talent that's competing in September is going to be pretty crazy. And I say this with all due respect, but you're going down. I'm bringing the heat.
Dancers don't go down. Dancers don't go down. We fly.
I love
awesome.
it. I love it.
Well, so
whatever happens, it's such an honor to be part of that Pro Prince competition. And I'm so excited that we get to hang out for a few days and basically compete with each other. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, friendly competition.
All right, Arica. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and pull this presentation up that you have prepared for us today. We got about 10 slides here, and I'm just going to let you take it away. And then if we have any questions, I will let you know. For those of you who are watching live, I am monitoring the comments to the screen on my right. So if you have any questions, please feel free to chime in, let us know. Again, I am reading these, and we'll do our best effort to answer them. Arica, first slide, take it away.
Okay, so we are looking at stuff of dreams. So when you see photos of dancers, how can you not fall in love? How can you not have I want to shoot this. I want to create something like that in my portfolio. And still, even though you see it, a lot of people are a little bit afraid or intimidated to approach a dancer or know how to get in contact and begin this journey in the first place. So remember, I'm going to go through why it's important that photographers not only photograph dancers, what a service we give them, but also there's some responsibility that does come with that, just like any other client. So before we create the dream, we got to have the knowledge.
Okay, let's go
the
ahead.
The number one reason.
So understanding a dancer, is that the slide we're on?
Correct.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Dancers are trained to be people pleasers, but also perfectionists. So they're constantly trying to improve, constantly criticizing themselves internally. And unfortunately, sometimes people to their right and their left are criticizing them as well. Mm-hmm. And so when we post a photo on social media or anywhere public, we're leaving them open and exposed to some scrutiny in their world, right? And the people that are going to be looking at their photos, it's going to be a little bit different than people that maybe we're used to. It could be coaches, it could be competitors that know who they are and might make them a target. It could be that they just see themselves and are like, oh no, please take that down. I know some photographers get very frustrated when a dancer says to please take this down because they see a beautiful photo. But We're going to take this from the dancer's perspective and understand why they're feeling this way so we can avoid that from happening at all.
And that's
their mental health here.
Yeah, no, and that's such a big challenge I feel like we have as portrait photographers in any industry, and that's something that's why like we have such strict criteria when it comes to competitions and everything. Is, we may have a photo that's beautifully lit, right, that has the perfect sunset, for example, but at the end of the day, if the client doesn't like the way they look, or their pose awkward, none of that matters. So there's so many different moving pieces that have to come together to create a beautiful image. And like you just mentioned, I would imagine as dancers especially, they're going to be very hypercritical of the way they look and the way they're posed.
Yeah. And don't take it personally. It is not you. It
Right.
is just this miscommunication here, right?
Absolutely. So what are we on?
We're going to
Mental
move on.
health?
Yeah, we kind of touched a little bit about this
Okay.
already. But it's kind of nice if you can try to get approval of the dancer before you post. Um, like I said, also certain you'd be amazed how these, just how we like to make sure there's not like a little extra bump in the fabric. They're looking at these things. So yeah, but this is so fun. Look at what we can create. This is an artist working with another artist and creating the ultimate art,
That
right?
is really
So,
cool. That
so
is
much
really
fun.
cool.
And then we're going to just go through the main things that they're going to be looking for that could that you'll be able to look through your camera and critique and help them out, because there are dancers that can really pose themselves and they're at the top level, but
Hmm.
most dancers in your area, your actual clients, the ones that are going to pay you money, are not those top pros. They are
Right.
models, right? The top ones. Your clients are going to be parents of younger dancers that are still perfecting their craft and still learning, however, still very talented. So that's why I'm going over this. It's not necessarily like professionals, you don't need to really do a whole lot as directing, but it's the young ones, the ones if you're going to, make money and monetize and pursue clients, this is very, very important. So they'll come back to you.
Absolutely. And Arica, we do have a question already from a viewer, and I'm not
Sure.
sure if you're planning on touching up on this or not, but John is asking, since you have so much dance knowledge, do you have to study lighting, and specific photography knowledge first, or like did you already have this? So I guess did you when you started to take photos of dance, did you already have all this knowledge, or did you kind of learn it as you went, or what was your background with that?
This is a great question. So my fine art background, I used to draw portraits. So I was very
Okay.
familiar with light and shadow and form. That did give me a little bit of an edge. But let's say I didn't have that knowledge. Let's say that I was a photographer and photography was what I knew. I would rather you be so dialed in as a photographer before maybe doing this. Think of it as like newborns.
Okay.
You have if your mind is focused on your settings, it's not focused on the pose or the aesthetic or the extra things or the safety of the subject, right? So you do want to really work on the settings first. Be a good photographer, master that craft. You can do it simultaneous, but understand that it's going to be so much easier if you understand some basic lighting.
Hmm.
And when I do teach, I do tell you, okay, if you want this specific look for this dancer, here's how you achieve it. If you want that kind of look for this dancer, here's how you achieve it. So it's about mood. You're still a creator, you're still an artist, and you have a vision, right? Too often we hand over the artistic direction to a dancer,
Right.
right? Because they're the dancer, they don't know lighting, they don't know your vision. So you're still the artist, you're still the creator, you have a vision, and then you just have to learn how to communicate to them to get the
Yeah.
result you want.
That's some
I
great
hope that
advice.
helps.
No, that is absolutely phenomenal advice, because I feel like a lot of times too when I do my educating, I see a lot of people who are trying to focus so hard on getting like the lighting right, or getting their camera setting right, that they forget about the posing, and half of what's important about that photo. So it's really just it just really goes to show how important it is, both aspects of the of capturing a beautiful image are to the success of a photo. So that's a great answer. Well, very cool, very cool. So are you ready to move on to your I guess your tips, starting with pointed toes? Or did you have
Yeah,
more to say about mental
pointed
health?
toes. No, we're good. I think everyone gets
Okay,
the gist.
perfect.
Okay, pointed toes. This is the number one that we look for, that the dancer is looking for. As you can see in these examples, we have a professional model. Some in here may actually recognize her because she works with a lot of photographers.
Okay.
And she's French. Her name's Letitia. She's phenomenal to work with.
Is she the one on the
Um,
left or the right?
she's the one on the left.
Yeah, she is. She's
And
got
then
some
on
muscles.
the
Whoa.
she is incredible. This is an example of um, a purist, a pure dancer that has dedicated her entire life to create her body as her work of art. She's a living piece of art, and she takes it very, very seriously. If you've ever worked with her, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Um, I admire her so much for her work ethic in this area. And then you have a younger dancer to the right, extremely talented,
Mm-hmm.
but in her teens. Now, if for some reason we click the shutter either too soon or too late, their toes may not be pointed, and that's on us. So
Right.
again, we're looking for those pointed toes and go, oof, that was me. You're going to get better at the shutter. I will say my standpoint is not to do rapid fire to capture the perfect image,
Okay.
because those are huge file sizes, okay, for one, to
Oh,
go
for
through
sure.
later.
For sure.
Um, Two, I started dance photography when I had a Mark III,
Okay.
which meant I had to anticipate where the focal point would be and capture them and keep them sharp in
I'm assuming
focus
you're talking
without
about
auto
the
zapping.
I'm assuming you're talking about the 5D Mark III.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm a Canon
Gotcha.
girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, like now it's nice because they can just find it, focus, boom, you're good. But
Right.
you do need to be careful about clicking at the right magical moment. If you just hold down, you still might miss it. There's still gonna be something missing versus wait for it and there it is. There's a different energy to it. Other dance photographers know what I'm talking about, and that will come in time. I like to suggest practicing this. Go on YouTube, watch dance routines, and then do screenshots, because there's a similar delay when you do that. And you'll see how good you get at anticipating the movement and capturing the shot.
Awesome. That's some great advice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So
And if
what's
you get a younger
next?
dancer, yeah, also real quick, if you get a younger dancer, they may need to be reminded to point their toes, and there's always a nice way to direct that. Say, oh, this is looking beautiful. Remember to really point those toes. Like, that's
Gotcha.
not negative, it's positive, and it gives you the results that you need and that they want as well. Now we can move
Perfect.
forward.
All right. Full extension. What do we got going on here?
Okay, this is another one of those timing things. Either too soon or too late. This is stunning, right? Now, one knee was intended to be bent while the other one's intended to be fully straight. In other shots, there may be an example where if we didn't wait to see how far she could get that leg up and you shot it down at a lower degree, a lower angle, she's probably going to be a little disappointed, like, oh, I can do better than that. And she'll usually blame herself first, or his self. He'll think that, oh, I didn't get my leg high enough. That was on me. But a lot of times it could be us if we shoot too soon or too late. Now,
Gotcha.
you do the first one, see how far they can actually go. And once you've seen it, you're like, oh, wow, that girl can like kick her head. Then you
Oh,
can take
wow.
another shot, do it again, get it right. So be looking out for that. Make sure you get the full extension. Um, and that's another thing you'd practice with timing. But keep an eye out for it. See what their max is.
So do you ever, when you're doing, really complicated poses like this, where, they might only have like a second to hold their leg up at full extension, will you show them the back of the camera?
Ah, I will if I need to. Um,
Okay.
But I never, this brings up a really, really, really important point. I never make them hold it. Never.
Okay. Love
So
that.
what
So
you
so you
want to
really do
do,
have to be quick and time it just perfectly.
yes, yes, because when you have momentum behind that swing in the leg or that jump, they can get higher. They can get a fuller extension
Gotcha.
versus slowly lifting that up. That's hard to do. So I just tell them to prepare. When she's up on relevate, which means she's up on her toes, right?
Okay.
And demi point, what I would do is I would have her start up on her toes, prep one leg, and I say, okay, go ahead and kick. And I don't count for them because some of them may need to be gaining their balance. And if I count for
Mm-hmm.
them and they're not balanced, I'm wasting time. So I
Right.
just sit and say, okay, I'm ready. Whenever you are, go ahead. And then they do it and I click and we get the shot. But if my camera goes down and I'm messing with my settings, I'm making adjustments, I will tell them, go ahead and relax. Don't hold it, especially if they're in point shoes. That's very, very painful. So be very mindful not to make them hold a pose. Okay. It's not fun. It's wearing them out too soon.
That makes perfect sense. So a lot of times your clients say, Erica, I'm not sure if I'm getting high enough. Like, can I see the back of the camera? And is that something you're always like, yeah, sure. Or do you have any reason why you wouldn't show them the back of the camera? Or you pretty flexible, no pun intended. Are you flexible with, of showing, kind of letting them chimp a little bit your images?
Absolutely. I totally let them see it. If you
Perfect.
can shoot tethered, go for it. Um, like I say, they will critique themselves a lot of the time, especially the teenagers. Um,
Yeah.
and you let them see it. And then honestly, if we don't get it within 3 shots, if it's a jump, that's that's kind of that's a lot of exertion. Then we'll
Yeah.
move on to the next move. Yeah.
Sweet. Well, right on. Very cool. All right. So, turnout. What is turnout? Explain to me what this is. I've never heard this before.
Okay. Turnout is it's a term in dance
Okay.
where if you have the hips, you want to turn them out so that your toes will point outward. Okay.
That looks
That makes
painful.
sense. Think of it as a stretch. It's an increased amount of flexibility in the hips. Some people naturally have it,
Okay.
and others, like myself, I had to work really, really hard for it.
Okay.
And it's the one thing in Photoshop you cannot fix. You
Okay.
cannot, create a fake inside of a knee. At least not
Right,
yet, I
right. Yeah.
think. um,
AI is definitely
so
not there
we're looking for
yet.
that. Yeah. Now, in this case where she's turned at a 45, right,
Uh-huh.
kind of at an angle away from the camera, she is still displaying really good turnout. And the reason you can tell is that if I were to take her body and face it towards me, she'd be
Mhm.
nice and turned out. But from this angle, when you see the front of the foot, from this angle, she's doing a really good job with turnout. And people think that it's the feet that create that. It's not. It comes from the hips and the legs pulling
Gotcha.
those open, that control. So when younger dancers, they tend to be like, well, who is not nervous in front of a camera? We're all nervous in front of a camera.
That's true.
Dancers put on a good front, but the younger they are, sometimes they're still nervous and they'll forget, oh yeah, I got to turn out. Oh yeah, I need to point my toes. Oh yeah. They just kind of, their mind goes out the window, even though they're really, really phenomenal. And you say, oh, this is beautiful. Just remember to turn out just a little more. It's doing awesome. Be positive with your critiques. And they'll go, oh yeah. And then you just see them determined to come back the next time and nail it. They're so persistent and such perfectionists. So they'll do anything for you. They're so great.
Yeah, one of the things that's always fascinated about dancers is just their flexibility and their dexterity, and seeing them, at first glance, if you're kind of ignorant on the subject, you might be like, okay, whatever. But then when you really like look at it and you think about it, you're like, wow, that takes some serious skill and dedication and training to even have the dexterity to do something like that. So it's really cool, I would imagine, as a dancer to, train your whole life to be able to do something like this and then have it captured on camera. I just think that would be so freaking cool.
Yeah, it's the ultimate like reward because they actually don't see themselves very often. I have a lot of times dancers, I'll show them how, like, look at this jump, look at this, what you did. And they're like, oh, that's me? I'm like, yes, this is because when they're doing videos or recitals, they're in movement. And so they don't realize just how high they get or just how full their extension is till you can capture and freeze it and show them. Did you
Yeah.
realize you were this good? And they're like, no, that's awesome. So it's really, really neat it's such a gift we can give them. They need us for that. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And they will not, AI cannot replace that ever.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Yeah. And we actually do have a question. And I don't know if it would be best to answer this now or later. I'll let you make that determination. But Braulio is asking, what equipment and techniques do you find most effective for capturing dynamic dance shots? That's kind of a vague question, but if you had to summarize that or give an answer, what would you say?
Okay, this is a great question. This is such a good question. So it depends on the age of the dancer, right?
Okay.
You are not going to photograph a 5-year-old or a 9-year-old like you would a teenager or an adult, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because let's think, who is the client of the 5-year-old? Mom and dad, and they want their little girl to still look like a little girl, not like a 16-year-old superstar model, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be thinking like that. Don't make them grow up too fast or else their parents will freak out. So what I suggest is when they are a younger dancer, I pull out my portrait lens. That could be an 85 for you. For me, I like my 70 to 200, so I go to portrait lens. And I'll capture them more at eye level, like more of a traditional portrait. So they look like this sweet, innocent, age-appropriate capture. And then, but when I get into sort of these teens and these professional levels, then I'm going to bring out my 24-70. And I'm going to get low and I'm going to shoot high and angle because I'm going to make them look more triumphant. When they do a jump, they're going to look higher and they're going to look longer. So that's a really, really good question to have. Did I cover it? Is that good?
I would say that's a great explanation and a great approach for sure. So very cool, very cool. Well, let's see. We got some coaching now. This is, I'm assuming, a very big part of us as photographers. So what can you talk a little bit about this, regarding the head and neck?
Okay, so this one makes me giggle a little bit because I keep there's moments that live with you, right? That stay with you.
Right. Sounds like you have a story here. I want to hear this.
I seriously, bless her heart, there was a girl that she would jump and she would get high and she had pointed toes and she looked beautiful, but her face was like every time she would jump. And so don't forget to look at, these things. And then when
make that face again. Make that face again. That was
I mean, I don't even know if I can make the exact face. It was pretty bad. But with the neck, remember if you were to laugh, what do we tend to do when we laugh? She goes in, right?
Right.
Well, imagine if you're lifting a leg and an arm and you're trying to kick behind you really high, it makes them pull their neck in. And so I'll say, okay, I really need you, when you kick your leg up, I need you to also stick your chin out. And then they get a normal, nice, extended, like you can see with this dancer right here in the green dress.
Right.
She's pushing that chin forward and it looks so elegant. Now, sometimes you can get some hypertension in the neck, so you might want to remind them, like, try to relax as you do it. Try to be, a little more relaxed. But yeah, we're going for helping them because we are their mirrors. They can't see themselves. They can't make these little adjustments, but we are their eyes. And so we want to help them get the very best that they dream about, that they love. So
Awesome.
Yeah, be
Okay.
looking for that.
That's some great advice actually. And that's something I feel like can be applied to any sort of portrait photography. Is sometimes we'll overlook certain areas of the body. And one for me, one that I kind of overlooked until I really started paying more attention to it, where it was foot placement, right? And your feet, and I mentioned this a couple times in some of my live videos, but your feet, convey a lot of emotion, and they do set the tone for the image. For example, if like with couple photography, if your feet are turned away from your partner, well, what does that say about your interaction or your engagement with your spouse? So little things like that, just really subtle things, can make or break a photo of pose wise.
Yeah, and when you learn to pose dancers, it increases your ability to pose your clients in so many ways. So
Right.
you can take this and apply it like the pointed toes, but um, be careful though. Not everyone's feet will look like that when they point them.
Mm-hmm.
And so some have a natural nice arch that looks really pretty when they point, and others, when they try to point, doesn't look pretty. So then you tell them to just relax their toes and let them look natural, let them look very, very candid and normal.
Okay. Okay. Well, good to know. Good to
But
know.
yeah,
And and
but be their
the
coach, like talk to them.
absolutely, absolutely, yeah. And so the Braulio wants to know, uh, he wants to know if you could please explain your post production workflow involved. If you have any tips on what you do for post production.
So I guess I will say that one of the things I like to do is highlight by hand the highlights in the muscle tone to increase that to stand out. So if you look at especially this Latin
Uh
couple
huh.
down here, when you can see where the highlights are and enhance that and enhance the shadows a little bit.
Uh huh.
I mean, this woman's in incredible shape. She's a beautiful body. But just giving it that little extra oomph, it's just so fun. It just helps bring attention to their muscle tone and how much they work hard and show off that that achievement really. Um, Now, as far as calling goes, um, you may have to make some tough decisions. Do you go with the one that has the great expression, or do you go with the one that has the perfect form?
Right.
I'll go with the perfect form for a dancer.
For
Mom and dad
sure.
try to go for their expression. So you
Right.
have to, and sometimes I'll composite. I'll say, you know what? I'll just steal the face off that one and I'll swap it over with the great legs.
I was just
Um,
about to ask if you ever did composites for in situations like that. So, because I know some people,
yeah.
are totally against that because it's inauthentic or whatever, whatever excuse they want to make. But at the end of the day, we're here to satisfy the client and make them look their best. So if you need to do a composite, you got to do what you got to do.
And so this is a really good way for me how I gauge it. Can the dancer accomplish that skill on their own? Yes,
Right.
then we're good to go. Can that dancer also express that way? Yes, obviously. So all I'm doing is taking their abilities that were captured in two different moments and fusing them together. What I don't agree with is messing, like using the liquefy tool to mess with pointed toes. Like if they just don't have a really good strong point, try not to liquefy that too much. Like maybe you can cheat a
Right.
little bit, but try not to push it. Now, sometimes if you look at the gal standing with one leg supported straight and
Mm-hmm.
one leg kind of behind her, sometimes if that supporting leg has a little bend in the knee, ooh, you cannot post that. But I know she can
Right.
actually get that fully straight, so I don't have a problem with taking a liquefy tool and yanking that knee up so it's a little bit so it's more straight.
Fair enough.
Um, Yeah, so there's some for me. There's a little leeway if you believe that the dancer can achieve it on their own, then you can assist in Photoshop. But if you're going to just make them look way better than they are actually able to do that in person, that's a no-no for me.
That's exactly how I feel as well. When it comes to you using uh, retouching and manipulating tools. So I'm glad we're on the same page. And I really feel like that is the approach that most photographers, or all photographers in my opinion, should take when it does come time to get back to the studio or the editing lab and retouch your images. So I love to hear that. Love to hear that. Anything else on the head and neck, or are we ready to move on?
I think we're ready to go on.
Okay. So expression. We talked a little bit about this, but obviously you have a little bit more to say.
So you can coach the expression based on what mood you're trying to create. So this couple, for example, they're not actually a couple. At least they weren't when they took this photo.
Okay.
But so they were actually super awkward. And so you want to be like, okay, you can tell them a story, get them thinking and visualizing, say, okay, we're going to bring the passion. You're going to look into each other's eyes, because they were like not looking at each other, not connecting. And like, this is going to show in the photos, right? Then if the girl with the ladder, she has just an angelic face, right? So, but I also directed that. It was on purpose. I wanted it to feel sweet and romantic in the old master's portrait romance style. And so I just be like, I want you to picture pink fluffy clouds and like, just take her to a happy place.
Sure.
And then I say, you can say, what does, apple pie smell like? I want you to take a nice little, and then let it out. Like, you can coach and get real authentic expressions without saying things like, don't ever say, okay, now smile, because you're not going to get a real genuine expression out of just saying smile, because then you're going to get this.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
And you're still the artist. I keep saying that. You can say, like, what do you visualize? What do you envision? They're going to have shots that that they want, and you want to please the client. But then you can say, can we try something? And that's where you get to kind of let your creativity flow, and be the artist. We are artists. And man, when you get someone with so much talent in front of you, it's an opportunity, like a great opportunity to create some real good stuff. So.
Yeah, and I think that is a piece of advice that anyone taking any sort of portraits can really utilize. It's easy for us to say, okay, smile, right? But instead of saying smile, say, all right, think of your spouse wearing a sexy Yoda outfit or something like that. That's going to get them. I'm a Star Wars nerd, so I use that example, right? So, but you see how you just started laughing and you got that natural expression because of how ridiculous that was? You're going to get a way better reaction, a way better smile saying something ridiculous like that than if I were to say, okay, Arica, smile. You know what I'm saying? So I think that is some phenomenal advice there.
Yeah, but we also just kind of forget to, we get so blown away by what these dancers can do. You're like, we got the shot, it's amazing. And then later on you go back and go, oh crap, look at her face. Like, she just was not giving me anything. She was just stone faced.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, very cool.
So a lot of times we still treat them like portrait clients, still give them your all. Like, you are an expert. And the more you can show yourself as being the expert, the more they're going to trust you and listen to you and love you and go, man, they were so good to work with. And then they're going to tell all their friends. And when one girl gets to work and have these beautiful photos, then the other girls have to have them too, because their moms are going to be like insisting on it. So there's that. Awesome.
Well, cool deal. So I guess we're moving on, unless you have anything else to say about expressions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I guess that is it. Is there anything else?
That was it.
That was it. That was pretty quick. That was pretty quick.
I would say we can open it to questions if we have some more coming in the pipe.
Yeah, and while we're waiting for some questions to come in, looks like this is a great way for people to connect with you. Looks like you're doing a workshop. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, you guys, this is so fun. Okay, Montana, the best time to come visit, unfortunately, Montucky. um, it's going to be, unfortunately, in those nice warm summer months because when it's not, it's snow. Okay. It snows here like 8 to 9 months of the year.
Yes, it
So you
does.
want to come when it's warm. But, but when you come, I've done workshops, I've traveled the country to bring dance photography education to people who felt like they needed it. And this time I'm having it here because people go, oh my gosh, I've always wanted to go to Montana. I've always wanted to shoot there. So I am doing it. We're going to be shooting at my studio, which is massive and fun. I'm bringing in some professional models, but also using some local talent. You're going to learn everything that you've ever wanted to learn about how to light, how to shoot, how to direct. I'm going to give you the language, all the skills that you're going to need. You're going to walk away with a full portfolio ready to market dance photography. But we're also going to bring in other genres as well. Because we're going to go to Yellowstone National Park and shoot there for some of the days. And I know I would be really sad if I got to shoot in such a beautiful location without getting like a bride and groom in there, or
Oh, I know,
something
right?
that so fun. We'll still do the dancers, but it's going to be an ultimate experience. So whenever I travel to a city for a conference or anything, I take the extra time and make a point to enjoy the city itself, not just learn. So with that in mind, I'm incorporating horseback riding and whitewater rafting for my attendees.
This sounds
It's going
incredible.
to be like,
Well,
it's incredible. It's
not the
insane.
horseback riding part. I don't like horses, but the other part sounds amazing.
Oh, you'll love it.
I'm not a horse guy. I'm sorry, everyone in the world. Any potential ladies that are single and are, out there and that they were thinking of taking me on a date to go horseback riding. Nope, not going to happen. Sorry. But for everyone else, that sounds amazing that you're doing that for them.
It is amazing. So it's going to be a nice balance of really diving deep, no questions left unanswered. I don't hold back. And it's very small and intimate. I only take maybe like 10 people because
Wow.
I'm about you getting quality. I'm not about just shuffling people in. But yeah, you'll learn studio work. We're going to learn off-camera flash on location. We'll talk about literally everything. I'm even going to have a retouching, and I cannot teach a workshop if I don't talk about business and pricing and how to actually do all the things and make money doing this, because that's what we do. At the end of the day, it's a business for me. So we talk all the talk.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, and then where can people find out more information about that? Is on your website, aricalipp.com?
Yes. If you go to aricalipp.com and you see there's a tab for photographers, and you can go to workshops, they'll be listed. There are a couple of things in the works also, but I'm going to kind of keep that under wraps for now.
Okay.
But just so like the Montana one is there ready to go. I've also included a different pricing if you have a spouse or a non-photographer that comes with you and would like to do this. Mm-hmm. I think that's really fun to make sure that they can be included. And connect with me on Facebook. I'm pretty easygoing, really open. And then ClickCon's coming up. I will be doing a masterclass on Max Day for that in Detroit.
Very cool.
So, and then let's say you're like, okay, Arica, I want you just to myself. I do one-on-one mentorships. So there is also a page for that. And then you can pick what topic you really want to focus on. And I've also been willing to fly to your location and do a whole one-on-one personal workshop too, because it's nice to work with your own lighting equipment sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anything to get out of Billings, right? Just kidding.
Maybe I love to travel. I'm not.
Maybe in January, you're like, yes, please fly me out somewhere.
Yeah.
Preferably like Mexico or Florida or somewhere warm.
Yeah, I'm going to both those places in the next year. So
okay.
I'm hoping to be doing a France workshop in 2025. So that's going to be awesome.
Awesome. Well, before we head out, we do have one more question from the Braulio. And that question is, Do you ever ask a client to look for favorite poses on social media? I had a wedding photographer telling me that they once asked a client to go on Pinterest and find favorite poses. And to me, that kind of screams insecurity, but what is your take on it?
Oh, well, it's not insecurity in this case because these young girls, that's their world. That's the world they live in. And so what
Mm-hmm.
I will do is I will have shots of my own that I know I want to grab, but I will tell them, okay, there's a lot of prep work that you can do here. You're going to ask them what's their favorite music. Feel free to bring a playlist so that they can do the shoot with music and movement. Um, you are going to like allow them to have a list of 15 to 25 of their favorite poses.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just it just makes them feel secure. And young dancers, even teenagers, aren't always that secure. Some are, but you want to be prepared for any scenario, right? And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we're here to please the client, right?
Right.
So when we go through their shots and we nail it, guess what that means? Cha-ching, 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 nailed each
There
shot that
you
they
go.
wanted. There's nothing wrong with that. But then you go, since you nailed all of those, now you pull out of your back pocket these fun ones of your own. And then you create and you're unique and you surprise them and wow them and they go, oh, I have to have these too. And don't forget headshots. Dancers need to have headshots. So
That's
there's a whole lot here.
Yeah, that's great advice. I certainly learned so much from you today. Like I said, a subject that I was completely ignorant on, something I've never even really even given any thought to. And it's just really cool that you were able to bring us all into your world a little bit, Erica. So thank you so much. I really appreciate all your knowledge. It looks like we had some great feedback from everyone who watched. So clearly you are doing something very right. Keep pushing it. Keep doing what you're doing. And again, for those of you who just tuned in or tuned in a little bit later, Erica and I are competing against each other in the Pro Prince Invitational in September. I am so freaking excited about that. We're going to go head to head with 4 other photographers in the grand finale. Dun, dun, dun. Or whatever they're calling it. But it's going to be a good time. And Erica, are you planning on going to any other conferences besides ClickCon next year, like Imaging or Shutterfest or WPPI? Because if you are, I'll be at a couple of those, and I'd love to see you there.
Absolutely. I will always go to WPPI and now Portrait Masters. I'm assuming will probably be combined again, but I seriously, you'll find me at conferences. And if anyone ever wants some one-on-one, like honestly, I'm an open book. The more photographers know how to photograph dancers, the better it'll be for everybody. Yeah. Oh, and look out for learning how to pose ballroom Latin and swing dance
Ooh,
couples. So
interesting. Interesting. I can't wait to hear more about that one. So, very
it's really
cool,
good.
Erica. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to everyone who tuned in live. Make sure you all stay classy, but more importantly, stay dope nasty. Have a good one, friends. Bye bye.